Welcome to Grayprimer, a show that's mostly about miniatures. My name is Nick, I'm your host, and in this episode I'm doing my part for Orktober 2022. I'm going to mash together one of those Meng World War Toons tanks, in this case a Sherman-Firefly, with one of the Warhammer old favorites, the Gretchin. Let's see what happens when these two very different worlds mash together in a diorama. Coming up after this. Alright, so let's look at the World War Toons tank first from Meng. This is a British medium tank, Sherman-Firefly. And when I first saw this, it just looked to me like a badly formatted image for the front cover here, but it's got this, is it super deformed? It's not really super deformed, it's more just condensed, I suppose. It's just a stumpy version of the regular Sherman-Firefly. How much was this? €14.99, so an absolute bargain to advertising some Meng paints. I didn't know Meng did paints. Oh, they don't do paints. AK do paints and they're branded for Meng. Yeah, let's get into this, see what it's all about. Very cool little rubber tracks. That's great. Make sure to keep those safe. And then it's in olive drab. That nice green color. So if you wanted to just stick this together and call it done, there's no harm in it. You've got a green tank, black tracks, and what look like some decals here. So you could probably make this look alright without actually putting paint to it. So detail-wise, it's fairly minimal on the surface here, but I'm sure the addition of accessories and things once the tank is built will make it feel a bit more real world. And then we'll look at the top of the tank. Yeah, a little bit more detail on the top here. My big gamble is the scale gonna work for Grots? Is this, what's it called again, World War Toons scale gonna work? I just hope that it does. I kinda think that it does when I look at the opening here for the hatch. It feels Grot sized, but I guess there's only one way to find out, is to stick all of that together and shove a Grot in it. Then we have the manual here. I think this is my first ever kit made by Meng. Looking at this, it looks straightforward enough. I don't think there are any surprises here. See if the sprue is numbered. The sprue is numbered, so it should be okay. Contents, pointing where everything goes. It's in multiple languages, which is great, and it actually names the part of the tank that you're building here, which I appreciate because I know very little about tank engineering. Lots of nice detailing on the turret here. And here's what I was talking about with adding the accessories to the tank. You can see these rolls and things here, and aerials and, you know, observation equipment, comms equipment. Once all of that's in place, it'll just make the exterior of the tank look more detailed, much more detailed than I thought it would be initially. And you can see the way the turret attaches is very common. It's got two little slots cut into it here, and then it'll have two tabs in the turret underneath. And it just means you can angle it whatever way you want, remove it for painting and things like that. Nice. Okay, for my tanker crew, it's going to be the Gretchin box from Games Workshop. I don't know how many of these little maniacs I'm going to be able to fit onto this tank, but I'm hoping to have some hanging off the side, some popping out of turrets. Who knows? And I love this set. These miniatures are full of character. There's just a whole bunch of stuff going on with them. I'll most likely not use the runt herd, but I'll try to use as much of everything else as possible. And just while I have you, I'll go through the concept. So here we have, I think it's 30mm XPS foam, and I'm going to use that as the base for this diorama. Now, I'm not quite sure about how big this tank's going to be. I can't imagine it's going to be much bigger than that with its tracks and bits and pieces attached to it. So perhaps I would have it going like straight through like the woods, or come at it from an angle, something like that. Maybe an angle is slightly more visually interesting. Perhaps even just at a slight angle, something like that. That would give me enough space to have the muddy background and add a little bit of dynamism to it. So if I have it going like this way, sort of that is the direction of travel. So let's say that this is the ultimate back of the tank back here somewhere. And I'd be going for like muddy tracks going that way. Yeah. So let's say that the tank body will be here. Yeah. And then it's just a case of sort of playing around with the concept that maybe something like fir trees are going to be like about that sort of size. And I could have like smaller bushes and things like that off to the side. And then in amongst here, we'll probably have the likes of grasses or leaf clutter or something like that. And I think that will be more or less it. And maybe have the turret pointing just slightly off or something like that, I don't know. So now I'm going to get the tank built, the grots built, mush them all together. Wish me luck. So let's get started with the Meng tank, which doesn't need glue. This is wonderful news, as it means that the parts of the tank which should move will still move after construction. And I think as a kit it's nicely detailed and manages to still feel like a Sherman-Firefly, albeit a squished one. The turret moves freely, as does the barrel of the main gun. All this means is that you'll have freedom to angle this whatever way you like. And just look at those wonderful tracks and running gear. Imagine this is a Bane blade. It's truly a thing of beauty. I said before that the turret can be removed for painting access, and here's a better look at those moving tracks. The access hatch opens easily, and really this is the cherry on top of what is a great building experience and a lovely kit. Now the Gretchin kit, that's something I ended up only using a few models from, but the leftovers are perfect for my Orky Bits box. Speaking of which, here is a very small part of that collection, and where I sourced my greebles to make this WW2 tank a little bit more orky in Warhammer 40,000. This is one of my favourite parts in the kitbashing process and involves a lot of trial and error. Some parts just click and others don't. They'll have their day in the Orky sun, but it's just not today. Some parts will need modification to work, like this gun, while others feel like they were made for it, like this adorable little Blood Bowl Snotling. The toughest part is actually remembering where all the parts are supposed to go, and I should keep notes, but I don't. I love the look of this lethal weapon, but it just feels excessive for this build, and maybe it'll work in another Grot Tank in the future. Pro tip intermission coming up. What to do when your plastic cement glue nozzle is blocked? Apply a naked flame to the nozzle opening, and hey presto, the clog is gone. Please don't try this at home, these chemicals are highly flammable and probably toxic. Seriously, just don't. Using Blutack to position all the components gave me a good feel for how the finished model is going to look. I can see what works, and I also start to get a sense of the narrative being told in the diorama. Sure, these grots are cute as heck, but they're also a professional tank crew, and the tank itself needs to look suitably lethal. And at first glance, I needed to say Ork Tank and not Sherman-Firefly. I thought the runt herd and his faithful squig would look cool walking in front of the tank. So let's talk about base dressing. These are Java sleeves that come with camo netting. They're a natural product and crumble nicely as autumnal leaf clutter. Next is Woodland Scenics Coarse Turf Burnt Grass and Geek Gaming Scenics Base Ready Scrublands, which is gorgeous if a little dusty. Then there's Woodland Scenics Medium Green Bushes Clump Foliage, which works great at any scale. And finally, here is some beautiful light green tall shrubbery from Green Stuff World. So let's fast forward a little bit and look at the painted miniatures. I attached these to temporary bases to make them easier to paint. I primed them with Tamiya Gray Primer Spray, then washed them with Nuln Oil from Citadel to darken the nooks and crannies. I then used Green Stuff World Acid Green Dipping Ink for the green skin, and lost track at that point of the many paints, washes, and pigments that I used. I can say the ones that I used the most were Green Stuff World Dipping Inks, AK Interactive Intense Range, Citadel Agrax and Nuln Washes, and Vallejo Game Color. On the tank I also used Games Workshop's Orky Transfers. You can see why I lost track when you look at my wet palette. No regrets. I highly recommend Ammo by Meg's Oil Brusher range for accurate application of oil-based weathering effects without needing to worry about cleaning your own brushes with white spirits. They come with a little brush applicator included. I decided to use a 6-inch square sculpting block instead of the XPS foam, as it was pre-cut to size, and for the life of me I just can't cut a straight edge with a hot wire handheld tool. And here I'm marking out the place where the tank tracks will chew up the dirt, which will come in the form of 2 colors of Vallejo Thick Mud Acrylic. And this stuff is fantastic. I use a sculpting tool to indent the foam, so that I can still feel where the track marks are even after I apply all that mud. And Vallejo thick mud is a colored, heavy acrylic medium. It's mixed with fine grit. AK Interactive also make equally good texture pastes. This stuff looks so nasty, but I assure you it smells fine. I sprinkled on some grass flock while the mud was still wet, and then sprayed the entire top with watered down PVA glue. And while that was still drying, I started adding in the little shrubs and flowers here and there. I poured out some Geek Gaming base ready into a little pot, just so I could select a few choice bits, a few little rocks and shrubs to add visual interest to the base, and I stuck them in place with Java's Countryside Scenic Scatter adhesive, but any PVA glue will do. There was a small dismemberment moment in all the excitement, but it was easily fixed, thankfully. I used Vallejo matte varnish to seal in the decals before I start to weather them with oils. It'll keep them safe. And I also added a few finishing touches to my shrubbery with more gamer grass flowers. This time I went with red. You actually get 4 colors per pack, which is just fantastic. It's hard not to get excited when you finally start gluing the miniatures into the diorama. The tank commander is from the Gretchin set, and the tank's herald is a Blood Bowl Snotling. I'm using Bob Smith 10 to 25 seconds super glue to lock the turret down, and this stuff is perfect for when you need a little extra time to move the components around before they bond. It also clogs up a lot less than thinner super glues. The Grot at the rear is also from the Gretchin kit, and he's keeping the back of the tank safe. You'll also see a final Grot hanging off the side in a moment, who is another Blood Bowl Snotling. But with the runt herd finally glued in place with his faithful companion straining at the leash, I'm gonna call this one done. And feel free to name the squig below, and I'll pin my favorite in the comments. Ta-da! And here it is! I am now a massive fan of these World War Toons tanks from Meng, and there is a huge range of them available as well. I just think they fit the Grot scale perfectly, and are cute, but also still dangerous looking. And I can't wait to do more in the future. And look, there's the little Blood Bowl Snotling hanging onto the side. He's bravely defending the tank with what I can only call a tactical rock. And just look at this lot. I mean, here is the rest of the crew. I might go back and clean up a few bits and pieces here. The rust on the turret is a bit overdone for me. But overall, I'm happy with how this came out in the end. And you can almost hear the racket this lot are making, and I'd love to know more about the battles they've fought and the trouble they've got into. Maybe Warhammer could make a book series about a Grot Tank and its crew once they're done with Gaunt's ghosts. But to wrap things up, here's a closer look at the base of the diorama and how I tried to create a realistic looking environment that could be a scrubland field anywhere in the world. I also hope that it gives a sense of movement and disruption too. And I hope you like it as much as me. But thanks so much for choosing to spend some time with me today. I mean, happy Orktober. Please like, share, subscribe, and do all the things. And until the next time, please take care, and bye-bye.